like this cam sprocket shattered. The other day I was getting a check engine light for P0519 and I think it was related to an idle air control valve issue, and I read online that it could be the neutral position switch, so I disconnected that. That's the brown wire right there that you can't see, but once I took that off there was no check engine lights. The idle dropped from, it was going from like 1500 to, or just alternating from like 1000 to 1500 down to 1000, and it started to idle around 1500 stably, and then after a minute it dropped down, but it still sounded weird. So my friend, we decided to do a compression test and noticed that cylinder 3, or the cylinder at the far back driver's side, the spark plug was clean, meaning that it wasn't like igniting properly or something. And through the compression test we discovered that it was holding no compression, which means there's a leak somewhere or the short block is bad. We tested the other ones and I think they reached like 90 or 120 psi, but they started dropping after I got the heads resurfaced, and I have new head gaskets, so I don't think it's that. It might be the short block. So with all of this in, gotta pull it back out, and that's where the fun begins. And we'll see if it can even be salvaged. If not, then I might put the old engine back in. Pulling the engine out, part 2. I brought it down to the short block and we didn't see anything wrong with that cylinder. There's no cracks, so we're wondering why it was not holding compression. So coming to the heads, this is the one that was cylinder 3. I'm not sure what happened, but when I put this on it was fine, and then maybe when that camshaft sprocket snapped or seized, this one got affected. Might have binded or something, but there's a gap right here, and that's where the air is escaping. I tried rotating this is loose, and something's going up right there. This is the driver's side head that had 2 bent valves after I started the car, and you can see here that this is warped. I bought 2 new valves and I'm going to replace them. These are the 2 new valves. These were the 2 old ones that were bent. I accidentally stripped this idler pulley like mounting surface, so I'm using a helicoil system to re-thread it back in. We have our drill with the 13/32 drill bit. We have this tap that we're supposed to like re-thread, and then we have this special tool that puts this coil piece in. The first time I installed this, I didn't put the 2 bolts on the bottom of the transmission. You can see one right there and right there. It actually helps a lot. They stick into the motor. It helps guide the motor into the transmission, because the last time I only had one and it was just like wobbling a lot, and I was having a hard time getting this to line up, but it seems to be going a lot quicker now. Guys, I got the car out of the garage and I'm just gonna drive around the block. Brand new clutch and flywheel. I don't want to push it too hard because I just resurfaced the heads and everything. Just want to make sure that it runs. I didn't put any power steering fluid in, so the steering's really stiff. RPM. Seems to be driving okay. Gotta clean up this entire mess. Been driving the car around without power steering fluid just because if I had to pull the engine again, I didn't want to drain all of this. I read that you're supposed to use automatic transmission fluid with the Dextron, so that's what I'm going to put in and it should be a lot better. If you guys heard the engine running, there was this tapping noise coming from, I believe, the valve cover. So I'm thinking that the valve is like a valve tick, and I thought maybe one of these caps were loose. So I'm just using some feeler gauges, and this is the values that I'm getting. The recommended value for if you like stick a feeler gauge between the camshaft and the shim or the cap, it's supposed to be 0.20 millimeters, and this one's tight, that one, these are tighter too, but this one's like super loose. So I'm gonna try, I have another head and I'm gonna try changing the cap because that's like a huge, almost double the tolerance. So I'm guessing because it's so loose, it was vibrating and making that tapping noise. On the bottom, it's supposed to be 0.25 millimeter, and I'm at 0.3. Like all of these are a little loose. So I'll see what I can mix and match to make it work. I did the intake side. I swapped the valve caps. So originally it was the 498. I put a 497, and the gap is now 0.203, which is close to the 0.20 millimeters. So the same thing here. I went a step down, or I used a smaller shim. So it went from 0.78 to 0.203. And then I found the biggest one that I had, which was a 509, and it brought it down to 0.203, which is in spec. And then the smallest one I had was a 495, and that went to 0.178. It's not within spec. There's like a plus or minus a small margin, but since that's the smallest one I have, I don't have like a 494. I'll make do with that. Then I got to do the bottom side as well, or the exhaust. Alright, got the car started. There's still a ticking noise, but it might be the injectors. This is the 2001 2.5 RS with a 2003 WRX EJ205 swap in, and I'm just gonna drive around, and run some errands. You guys can hear a little bit of what it sounds like inside and see that it's running. Got the heads resurfaced. I changed all the gaskets inside. There's a head gaskets, all the fuel lines, all of the timing belts and pulleys. So I don't want to push the car too hard because there's like a small break-in period. But just wanted to drive around to make sure that it works. And everything seems to be working fine. There's no check engine light. I scanned it and there's no codes. The wiring seems good for the most part. Yeah, I'm not hitting more than 3,000 RPM. There's a brand new clutch and flywheel as well. I'm just going to go to AutoZone to return a compression tester, and then go to the UPS store to return some stuff from Amazon. You can hear the turbo spooling. I have all this wiring exposed that I need to clean up. I gotta put the center console back on too. But right now I'm just doing a test run. Once everything seems to be running fine, I'll put everything back on. Everything seems a lot louder too because all of this is removed. the 2001 2.5 RS with a 2003 WRX EJ205 engine inside. As you can see, it's idling around like 600-ish RPM. There is no check engine light. This scanner is hooked up and we're just going to check the codes. Alright, so there's 0 codes found. Let's read the codes. No stored codes. No pending codes. Walk to the engine bay. Don't mind the wiring, I haven't finished cleaning everything up, but just want to show you that the engine is working. And this is a GC8 body. That's the fan kicking in.